What's up, y'all? I'm Dave, the Military Millionaire, and I came on to just do a reaction video, which I don't do a whole lot, but I saw this video of Nikki MGTV, what looks like shit talking the beloved Corps. And I had seen this article about this corporal who got the Meritorious Service Medal, and when I saw this headline, I was like, damn, that sounds like the same thing. So we're going to dig into it, because I'm curious what his angle is to say, essentially, that this Marine got screwed, when I think it's pretty rad that he's the second person in the last, decade to earn an MSM at that rank. So let's dig in, because surely my boy Nikki ain't shit-talking the Corps.
Save the Marine Corps $140 million, toilet paper. That is essentially what the Marine Corps has given this Marine Corporal as a reward in order to annotate his major accomplishments, which I would say go way above and way beyond what anybody else in that rank has ever done in a long time.
All right, first off, couple things. MSM, Meritorious Service Medal, not toilet paper. Pretty prestigious award for anybody at that rank to earn. Like I said, I think he might be the second person in the last decade or so. Two, I know a little bit about this story. We'll see what else comes up throughout this video, because I'm sure he dug deeper than I have in the past. But saving the Marine Corps money, when you say anyone has done for the Corps in a long time, I don't know, man. Dudes jumped on grenades for other Marines. I think that's a tough sell to me.
Let's discuss it, because Marine Corps Times has exposed this issue, and I will expound upon that because there are a lot of layers to this onion that should be making you scratch your head. Marine Corporal earns prestigious medal for saving military $140 million.
Doesn't look like an exposure, but carry on.
Says a Marine truck mechanic received a medal.
Oh, for the record, I'm a 3531 by trade, gone 3537 as I got promoted. So I was the operator of these vehicles. This is a 3521 mechanic. We worked very closely my whole career, so I'm a little familiar with this career field.
Typically awarded to more senior service members for saving the Defense Department more than $140 million through work he began as a teenage Lance Corporal. Let's be fair, there are top-level technical expertise that should be doing this kind of work, I would say, in the officer realm. We're not talking about the enlisted Matt Black that we are discussing here. I'm like, this is officer-level stuff here. Let's just...
Maybe... Again, we haven't dug into the meat and potatoes of this, but my understanding is he found a very unique issue within the JLTV community, which, by the way, I was there when we started rolling out and fielding the new JLTVs, and they had their quirks along the way. I would say, yes, while officers are supposed to solve all these problems and the big problems and whatever, who better to find a niche issue and solve it than somebody working on the vehicle? Probably not the office guys.
Just be real, frank with this situation. Corporal David Barbieri, now 21, received the Meritorious Service Medal on Friday from Colonel Damon Burrows, commanding officer 2nd Marine Division's Headquarters Battalion. Barbieri is only the 2nd Marine Corporal to receive the Meritorious Service Medal since at least 2008. Now, most people know that motor transport operators, whatever, just the mechanics, whatever, don't get a lot of respect, okay? Let's just be frank in that culture of the Marine Corps. But I have to say...
For the record, I like Nikki. He's not a Marine, so nobody gets respect at that rank in the Marine Corps. I mean, they do, but not to the extent that he's insinuating. I wouldn't say mechanics are a thankless job by any means.
You can't get stuff such as bullets, band-aids, and beans where they need to go without guys like this, and It is known that supply lines are very important. Now, I want to annotate with this story a couple things. The contracts which are responsible for this equipment that they're talking about that he works on specifically is through Oshkosh Defense, which I look at that and I'm like, I could find one single article already within the past a little over a year, about a year, of $208 million contracts that they were awarded to make sure stuff like this was happening. So, they are making hand over fist to do some of the work that this Marine Corporal was doing.
Okay, little misleading there. Being awarded hundreds of millions of dollars as a contract doesn't mean that that's profit, right? Now, don't get me wrong, Oshkosh does well. Oshkosh profits. But there are 10, 15, 20, I don't know. There's always a ton of companies bidding for these trucks. So there'll be like 5 or 10 companies that'll produce a very similar vehicle for the Marine Corps. And then the Marine Corps makes its choice. There's a reason Oshkosh wins a lot of those contracts, and it's generally because they don't suck. Like our 7 tons, the Medium Tactical Vehicle Replacement MTVR, my favorite vehicle to drive in the Marine Corps, been around for a long time, and they're Oshkosh, right? So, I digress.
And making probably 30 grand a year.
Also misleading because that pay scale, and I dig into this all the time on my channel, that is your taxable W-2 salary. The way the military works, your housing allowance, your food allowance, your medical, your dental, your life insurance, none of that is factored into your taxable W-2 income. So your W-2 income, your pay scale, always looks lower because, again, the military doesn't tax you on all the money you earn, which is a huge benefit. So when you start getting a basic allowance for housing, or you live in the barracks for free because it comes out of your PAH, or you get food allowance, or you get cost of living allowance, or any of these things, they're not taxed. So realistically, like my last W-2 was like $44,000, but it would have taken me about $128,000 in San Diego County to replace the cost of the lifestyle that I was living.
And I want that to be known because the impact of this is pretty profound. Marine Corps Times writes, Barbieri's engineering acumen would save more than 900,000 person hours of maintenance production time and more than $140 million throughout the entire life cycle of the platform.
Okay, that's important. Through the entire life cycle of the platform. That's like 20 years, right? Plus, depending on, right? So while this is huge, I don't want this to turn into a video where it's like, oh, he should have made $140 million today for fixing this, because, like, A, that's not how life works. Like, even if you own the company and you save $140 million, you then reinvest it in other things. And B, this is like, it's like ghost saving. It's not like somebody cut a check to the Marine Corps for $140 million and they were like, Corporal gets nothing. It's like, hey, this is expenses that you won't have to spend over the next 10, 20 years. So homie ain't going to be in that long.
Form the Corps calculated. And they say, this is one hell of a catch by this young Marine, said Jackson Wolf, Marine Corps Production Support Manager to the Vehicles Program Executive Officer at Oshkosh in a Marine Corps news release. His work on the work package could possibly prevent loss of life, which, by the way, when you talk about loss of life, you have to also think of funeral costs. You have to think of the SGLI, which is the military life insurance, which is like $500,000 almost right there, right?
Well, the military
and then you talk about the administrative costs of that and like the impact of ripple effects of if members did die, how that would affect unit cohesion, mental health costs, healthcare costs, everything across the board, where I'm like, this is more than the $140, $150 million. Let's just be real. They say, but most of his background in mechanical engineering was theoretical knowledge about aspects of systems like wiring and resistance. He gleaned from reading technical manuals, he said.
That means he did his job. You're supposed to read technical manuals.
Skipped 4th grade, Barbieri graduated from high school in 2019 at only 16. He spent 2 semesters studying mechanical engineering, first at Palm Beach.
Okay, so not just technical manuals. He had 2 years of studying mechanical engineering elsewhere.
Beach State College in Florida and second at the University of California at Berkeley, but he didn't love it. Then a Marine recruiter approached him at a career fair. I tried everything else out. I couldn't find anything wrong with joining the Marine Corps, Barbieri said. I can find one major flaw of this. You obviously were a bright kid. You obviously needed to be stimulated, which school may be in its own fashion. We could, I guess, debate that it is not the best for everybody. However, the Marine Corps is another system, just like the college education. This kid should have finished his college education, done the homework. I know it's a lot of BS. Worked for one of these big contractors and probably should after this because his brain is that bright. And I will discuss why. Because this man assisted Oshkosh hand in hand to update the technical manuals.
Okay, couple of things there. I don't like the ideology that you shouldn't join the military if you're intelligent. I think that's stupid. I think the military gives you a bunch of intangibles that intelligence does not. Like, show of hands, who had a valedictorian who's doing fucking shit all with their life right now? Everybody. Like, being the smartest kid in school doesn't mean dick. And it is what it is, right? Like, But I hate the idea that, oh, you're smart, you shouldn't join the military. No, the military is not for idiots. Like, you want the worst of the worst, guarding the borders if we go to war? Like, there are a ton of smart people in the military. And I don't like perpetuating the idea that that's not the case, or that you shouldn't join if you're intelligent, because I think it sets you up for success better than anything else you could do right out of high school. I would argue that getting your college paid for, getting paid to learn a skill set, figuring out what you want to do with your life after high school by actually getting to have some adventures, travel, life, learning who you are and growing up a little bit, are arguably a better way to set yourself up than going straight to college.
This is not something any normal corporal, lance corporal at the time, because he was doing it as a lance as well, would be doing. He said as the trucks, they started breaking, there were more and more different aspects we had to fix, and not a lot of people with the experience that had already worked on them, Barbieri said. Says when Barbieri was about 6 months into working at the unit, he faced a problem that didn't have an easy solution: how to replace hoses that ran from the vehicle's engine bay to the back end. It took him 2 weeks, but he figured it out, he said. After that, his leaders tasked him with repairing more and more vehicles with thorny problems. Barbieri repaired more than 75 trucks, keeping the battalion's readiness above 90% according to the news release. Again, Marine Corps,
Before he talks more shit, that's not actually that uncommon in the military, in the Marine Corps, for people to go above and beyond when they're passionate about their job and fix a lot of vehicles to maintain a high level of readiness. Him solving a problem is cool. Don't get me wrong. I'm not discrediting. I don't think the Marine Corps screwed him as much as this guy's trying to say.
I have to say, talent management issue. I will continue to...
The Marine Corps has the best recruiting. We're the only ones who made mission the last 2 years, and some of the better retention. Now, don't get me wrong, we don't retain as well as, say, the Air Force, but we also have a different system. It's a different beast, a different system. It's not that we don't try to retain everybody.
Yell this from the rooftops, that the military does a great job of mass processing people through. That's why we have the MEP stations, which allow people to go through. It's a system which they have narrowed down. However, when you have Barbieri here, the corporal that is a bright genius, it seems like, that maybe has just paid attention or has a little bit of quirky brain, maybe autism. He's in the Marine Corps, you never know. But that person should be able to be taken and put somewhere for better use. I would say fixing these vehicles, he's great at it, but if he's good at that, that's not that hard. He's eventually going to get bored with this anyway, and should move on to more technical, proficient issues that might be above his pay grade. His leaders took notice and said he could diagnose issues that most Marines couldn't find, and was able to make the repairs that civilian engineers from external organizations couldn't, said Master Sergeant Kenneth Bixby, Jr., Barbieri's former motor transport maintenance chief, in the news release. Later in 2021, while Barbieri was still a 19-year-old Lance Corporal, his command selected him to spend months working on Oshkosh's tech writing team in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, on a technical manuals for the Joint Light Tactical Vehicle.
So he got hooked
Anytime
up,
I would find something that felt like it was out of order, I would mess with the flow of things. We'd write that down, Barbieri said. And said based on those issues, Barbieri and the rest of the team would pile into a conference room and suggest changes to the technical manuals. One day, Barbieri noticed a problem with the manual's instructions for replacing the steering column. Installing the replacement part that way would have stopped the steering wheel from moving, he said. If that happened while you were in a turn or on a highway, that could cause a rollover, he said. Fair. Barbieri stunned the engineers with his brilliance and changed proposals for both fabrication of new vehicle components and for updating electronic maintenance manuals that are now published and being fielded by the program office across the military branches of service, Burroughs wrote on LinkedIn. And at the beginning of this video, I said they gave him toilet paper. I appreciate this award, right? We're recognizing this Marine. But the guy saved you $140 million of government money, which, if you guys have not noticed, the Department of Defense budget every year is a big piece of that, which essentially has been under contested waters over, government shutdowns, essentially. So the fact this Marine is saving, I would say, a good, decent chip in the bucket, this is not anything new. Look at this clip right here.
This, Mr. Secretary, is a bag of bushings. This bag of bushings, stamped out by machinists, don't need a high school diploma. It's not anything high tech about this. All of this bag is compliant with the FAA specifications. How much do you think the Air Force pays for this bag of bushings?
I don't know, Congressman.
$90,000. This is a $90,000 bag of bushings that you need for any jet turbine engine just to operate. So the
Yeah, but
exorbitant
that's a price
cost
gouge issue and a
due to
government
DoD
contracting issue.
only
That's
buying
not-
commercial parts from the OEMs, which is essentially sole source, is literally driving us out of business. I mean, the interest on our debt alone is now exceeding, for the first time in American history, the entire defense budget. We can't afford it anymore.
We have $90,000 washers. Now that's just one little incremental thing, but this Marine obviously has a much bigger impact on that. I would say, along with many others across social media have echoed, that this Marine should be getting some kind of promotion. And on top of that, why is there not a program where this Marine can get a chunk of money, some bonus, something, some percentage, something maxed out? I don't even know what that would be, because literally you could not pay this kid enough money to stay. I'm hoping Osh...
Okay, first off, the MSM and his pros and cons and everything else that get written up most likely will end up with a very quick promotion and or fast track on the enlisted side, potentially the warrant officer, chief warrant officer side. Very high likelihood of that happening. It's not necessarily guaranteed at the same time, but I would be willing to bet that this Marine gets meritoriously promoted or fast tracked nonetheless. Also, we do have a program. It's not necessarily super well known, but we have a program that incentivizes people coming up with new ideas and efficiency hacks within the military. And I'm totally drawing a blank on exactly what it's called right now, but they run it every year with the intent of giving out prize money to people who actually do find viable changes for the Marine Corps. So he very well might have already gotten some of that or be getting something in return for this. Again, this is just an article on him getting the award. I don't think that's the whole picture.
Gosh, by the way, you better be offering this kid a solid position and maybe even a paid for college education at this point, because this is just the level that this kid is at. It's the skill set does not match what his rank is here. And I'm asking why. I hope the Marine leadership is talking about putting up for a meritorious promotion, because that is where this kid exactly needs to be, and I would say even beyond that. But I'd love to know, have you guys ever seen anything like this where somebody has found a solution, saved a ton of money, and the military or the government's like, thanks a lot, appreciate it, here's a piece of paper? Because I'm sure he's not the only person that's ever had to deal with this kind of bureaucracy. But as always, the conversation continues down in the comments below. As always, if you guys like what I cover on this channel, hit me up over on Instagram.
All right, yeah, no, he's right. And I think this Marine should get more in return. But I don't agree with the tonality of this conversation that makes it sound like the Marine got screwed, when realistically he did just get a recognition that he's one of two people in the last 16 years in that rank to receive that award. That's huge. It will lead to increased promotions down the road for the rest of his career, having that medal at an early age. There's a lot of things going here for this Marine, and I'd be curious over the next few years to see how it plays out. Also, before this video is over, first off, thanks for making it to the end. I'd like to call attention to my sponsor, Sangan Instruments, the watch. And they're not really a sponsor, it's just a friend. And I'd just like to throw it out there. If you guys like sick watches, go check out Sangan Instruments on Instagram. Shoot him, tag him, let him know I said what's up. He's a friend, and their watches are sick, and they're blowing up fast enough that he can't keep them on the shelves. No promotion, no sponsorship, no affiliate, no nothing. Just love to shout out a veteran buddy who's crushing it, and I happen to be wearing the watch today. So hope you guys got something out of this. I'd love to hear your feedback. Again, I'm not disagreeing that he should get more. Simply saying I don't like the tonality that this is a slap in the face, when realistically that award is setting a precedent, and I think he is going to get more out of it. I don't think this is the full picture. And great job, Marine. Hell of a job, Barbieri. Love to see it. Y'all have a great freaking day. Subscribe, and we'll help you figure out how to make your own $140 million so you don't need the Marine Corps.